What's up, math scholars and math haters? This is Mr. W. Today we're going to tackle question 41 in the 7th grade math questions that North Carolina released this past school year. We have a table that shows the number of points that two teams scored in 5 games. Games of what? I have no idea. It looks like about football scores. And we're supposed to find the difference in the mean absolute deviation of the two teams. So the big skill that this is going to test is the idea of mean absolute deviation. So if you don't know this process of finding mean absolute deviation, I'd rather explain it by example and by just showing the process as we would do it with Team 1. So the first step is to find the actual mean, where I add all these numbers up, divide my sum by how many numbers there are, so 5, because there were 5 games. So I would do 51 plus 47 plus 35 plus 48 plus 64. That gets me 245. I divide that by 5, and I get a mean of 49. And now after I've found the mean, I need to find my absolute deviations by taking each score and subtracting the mean. So to start with, this is 51 minus 49, which gives me 2. So my deviation for this game, let me use a red marker for this, is 2. Now, since this says absolute deviation, if I get a negative number, for instance, when I do 47 minus 49, score minus mean, I get negative 2, but the absolute value of negative 2 is just 2. And if you think about it, we're only really interested in how far away 47 is from 49, not whether it's lower or higher, because we're just trying to find mean absolute deviation. So as I keep going, 35 minus 49 is negative 14, so we say that that's a deviation of positive 14, because we keep the absolute value. 48 minus 49 is negative 1, so we call that 1, keep the absolute value. And finally, 64 minus 49 is 15. So this has a deviation of 14, a deviation of 1, and a deviation of 15. Now, all I have to do is find the mean of these 5 numbers. So I add 2 plus 2 plus 14 plus 1 plus 15. It gets me 34. Divide that by 5, and I find my mean absolute deviation to be 6 8/10. So now I'm going to repeat this process with Team 2. Add up my scores and find the mean to start with. 27 plus 55 plus 53 plus 38 plus 41 equals 214. Did I type those in right? 7, 2, 5. All right, divide that by 5, and we get 42 8/10. Why do they do this to us? You can test the skill just as easily without making the numbers needlessly complicated. So now we take score minus mean. 27 minus 42 8/10 will give me negative 15 8/10. Or I keep the absolute value of that deviation as 15 8/10. 55. Nope. Type that in wrong. Good lesson to think about. You can rely on your calculator, but make sure you type everything in absolutely correctly. So there's my deviation, 12.2. That would have been way off and skewed my answer. Just for the sake of time. All right, so here's my next 3 deviations. And again, any that are negative, I'm going to take the absolute value and just keep them positive. So that's 10 2/10, 4 8/10, 1 8/10. And now I add all these up and find their mean. Add them all up. Divide by 5, and we get 8 96/100. And since we're trying to find difference, I'm just going to go ahead and do 8 96/100 minus 6 8/10. To get a difference, a final answer of 2 16 hundredths.